If you're learning anything about electricity, one of the formula that you will have noticed often is the Ohm's law. So let's see if we can describe what it is and what we can do with it. So first of all, when you think of the Ohm's law, you have to think about that it is the relationship between three different variables. The first one is voltage. That's a potential difference. The units are in volt with the symbol V. So here, the voltage is always equal to the resistance times the current. R stands for resistance, with here the symbol omega for ohms as a unit, times I, which is the current with this here A as a symbol, and the unit is amp, like this. Some of you will say, why do we have I for current? Because I stands for intensity of current. So in intensity, like this. Perfect. So when we do have a circuit, and we have parallel circuits, and we have a parallel and series circuit, we know where electrons are moving, we know what measurements are. Now we can do some math to try to figure out the missing information, and that's what we're going to do today. Now this equation here, V equals R times I, that's what I use in Canada here. Some of you, if you're in Europe, some places they use an E here. They use an E for energy, because if you have the voltage or the potential difference, it is the energy of the electrons. But here in Canada, so I'm going to keep the V here. Perfect. Now, keeping in mind that if we have, let's have an example. I think that's always a good thing. So I had some examples set up here. So for example, let's see. My question here is, how much voltage would be necessary to generate 10 amps of current in a circuit that has 5 ohm of resistance? So here, let's see if I can look at the information we have. So how much voltage will be necessary? The voltage is missing. We know it will be necessary to generate 10 amps. That's the current in a circuit that has 5 ohms of resistance. So here I have 3 pieces of information, 3 variables, but I have information for 2 of them. So let's see if I can find the missing one. So V equals R times I. We know that R is 5 ohms. We know that the current is 10 amps. So 5 times 10 is 50. So here, if the question is how much voltage will be necessary to generate 10 amps of current in a circuit that has 5 ohms of resistance, I would need 50 volts. So that's an example on how we can answer this question. So let's see if I can, we'll erase this, and let's see if I can have 2 more examples for you. So let's see. Very nice. So let's see if I can have, so we have V equals 6 volt, resistance equals 2 ohm, current equals, we don't know. We have V equals volt. We have the intensity, which is 1.5 volt. Why not? And resistance. So here are 2 more examples. So in this example here, I have a circuit that has at one charge 6 volt of energy, a resistance of 2 ohms, and I want to know the current. So let's see. I look at the equation I have here. Let's see what I need to do. Now, we do realize that we have to isolate the I here. So I'm going to do some algebra and then I'll give you some ideas and some tools afterwards. So if I want to isolate I will divide both sides by R. I will cancel out the R. The current is the voltage over the resistance. So here we know that the voltage is, we have 6 and the resistance is 2. So here with the calculations, we have that the intensity of current is 3 amps, like this. Now here, some of you said, well, I don't like the algebra piece, it's tricky. So let's see if I can give you the example of using a triangle to figure out the equation you need. So if you have a triangle like this, we know that this is the Ohm's law. We have V, R, and I, like this. But we do know that if you isolate the resistance, it's V over I. If you isolate the I, it's V over R. So how can we do the calculations here? So here we have to look at what we have and what we want. So if I'm looking for the voltage right here, we hide the bottom part. And if I want to know how to calculate it, I hide the V, and here I have R times I. And that gives me exactly what it is. It's the same thing as if I had a little multiplication sign right here. If I'm looking for the resistance, which is something like this, just hide the R. So what I have here, I have V that is over I. V over I. So that's the same thing as if you had a little division sign right here. And if it happens, I'm looking for the current. I'm looking for the current here. I hide the current. I end up with what? V over R, which is exactly what I have here. So this trick here of the triangle may be something that helps you quite a bit. Personally, I do like the algebraic piece, but some of you, if you're visual, that would work wonderfully well. So let's see if we can do our second example right here. So here I have the voltage of 12 volt. I have an intensity of, 1.5 ohms. It's important to have the correct unit. And I'm looking for the resistance. So if I'm looking at this one here, may as well use it. I'm looking for the resistance. Resistance is V over I. We just have to plug in the numbers. We have a voltage which is 12 volt. We have a current which is 1.5. So here we just have to multiply to have 12 divided by 1.5, just because my brain is not quite working this morning. Let's double check. So we have 12 divided by 1.5, and I have, oops. Okay, give me a second. I'm looking for this. Oh. I was right earlier. The current is 1.5A. We have 1.5A here. Much better. So here I have to find the resistance, 12 volts divided by 1.5 amps, and that equals 8 ohms. In this example, this is the resistance that I have right here. So this is an example of just an application of the equation of the Ohm's law. Let's see if I can have a bit more complex circuits as the last examples for you today. So let's see, I took a picture of the example I had earlier. Very nice. So let's see if we can look at the examples I have here. So I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to do some drawings, and then we'll be able to answer the questions together. In the meantime, if it happens you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them right after. Let's look at a few examples where we have more complex circuits and how we can use the Ohm's law to be able to answer them. So here to help us, I put a triangle right here, and let's see what we have. So here we have a series circuit. When I have a source with 6 volt, I have here a switch, 2 bulbs that are identical. Here I don't have any information about them, but I have here an ammeter that tells me that I have 0.2 amps going through the circuit. So having this information, what can I say about these 2 bulbs right here? Some of you would say, well, I have 6 here, I have 0.2 there. Why don't I just do 6? So I'm looking for resistance. Why don't I do 6 divided by 0.2? The question here is I want to know what is going on at each of the bulbs. So let's see what we've got. So first of all, if I have 0.2 amps here, and there's only one way for the electrons to go through, so this is negative, this is positive, oops. The electrons are going this way. So electrons are going this way. If there's only one path, what's interesting is that we have here also 0.2, we have 0.2 here, 0.2 and 0.2 everywhere. 0.2 amps, 0.2 amps. So that's the first step. Now you have to consider that if we have 6 volt here at the source, but we have 2 bulbs, then we have to divide the voltage with the 2 bulbs we have here, knowing that they are identical. So here we have 3 volt, and here we have 3 volt. That is true that for the whole circuit, I have 6 volt, but if I'm talking about the individual bulbs, here I have only 3 volts. So here, if I'm looking for the resistance of this bulb, right here and right there, let's see what the calculations are. So first of all, the resistance of the first bulb and the resistance of the second bulb are the same, and we don't know what it is. We know that the voltage at this bulb is 3 volt, and we know the current is 0.2 amps. If you look at the triangle we have here, since we're looking for the resistance, we have V over I as the equation. Just have to include the information. So I have so here 3 divided by 0.2, 3 volts, 0.2 amps gives me here a resistance of 15 ohms for each of the bulbs right here. So that's an example where I have to look at my circuits, what are the information I have available, and then do my calculation. Let's see if I can look at this one here. So here I have a circuit, but I can see that they are in parallel. Let's see what we have. We have here voltage or the potential difference at the source being 12 volt. We have a switch. We have here a bulb that has 3 volts. We have here 2 branches. So from this point, you can see 2 parallel branches of the circuits, and that they're meeting here to go back to the source right there. So let's see what information we have. First of all, we have here, I would like to know the number of amps we have. If I have here, so this is negative, positive, we have here the electrons that are moving like this. That means that some are going down and 2 are going this way. So when they meet again, right here, that means that we have 1 amp going this way, 2 amps going that way. So that means that I have 3 amps total going through this part right here. 3 amps going here, 3 amps going there. One is going down here and 2 is going down there to come back to 3. So this is what the intensity of current is going through. Perfect. Now we have to look at the voltage. If I have here 12 volt and here I have 3 volts in this bulb right here, that means that 3 is being used right here. So only 7 volts are left for the bulbs here. So that means here I have 7 volts. Because they are parallel circuit, we know that when we have bulbs in parallel, we also know that we have 7 volt for the next bulb as well. So here's interesting because here we have 3 bulbs. Bulb number 1 with 3 volt and 3 amps. Bulb number 2 with 1 amp and 7 volt. And here bulb number 3 with 7 volt and here 2 amps. So that means that we have here 3 bulbs that have different resistance for all of them. So let's see if we can find that out. We're looking for the resistance again. Therefore, it's V over I. Let's see if we can calculate. So let's see if I can erase this bit right here. Perfect. We calculated it was 15 ohms. So we know that the resistance at the first bulb is the voltage at the first bulb and the intensity at the second bulb, at the first bulb right here. V1 is 3, I1 is 3 as well. So that means that the resistance at this bulb here is 1 ohm. Let's see what we have for the second bulb. The resistance at the second bulb will be the voltage at the second bulb divided by the current at that second bulb. So here we have 7 volt divided by 1 amp. 7 volt, 1 amp. So it seems that here we have a bulb that would be 7 ohm right there. So let's see if I can do the same thing for the third one. Oh, it's a bit tight, but we should be able to do that one. R3, V3 over I3. We have 7 volt divided by 2 amps, and we have 3.5 ohm like this. 3.5 ohm. Excellent. So here we are able to get all the information we need. We have here the first bulb that has here 1 ohm, 3 volts, and 3 amps. For this one here, 7 volt, 1 amp, 7 ohms. And here we have 7 volt, 2 amps, and 3.5 ohms. Now you're going to say, why would people like to do this? Well, you can go in the circuits and see what you have. If you're someone who's repairing circuits, you want to know what is going on so you can repair. You want to know what the resistance is and how to replace it. If you are an engineer that needs to create something, you can use simulations and you can use your imagination and your software to figure out how the circuit is doing. And if you're a technician putting the circuits together, then you know exactly what part you need, what source you need, what resistors you need to be able to do your circuit. So I think that it is a great equation to know. On this, if you have any questions related to the Ohm's law, put them in the comments below. In my class this week, we have a test on this, so I'm doing this video for them as a great review for the Ohm's law. On this, if you have any questions, put them in the comments below, as I mentioned. Otherwise, I'll see you here with another video about circuits.